Sunday morning. I'm Kim Stevens.
And I'm Kevin Raymer. Kopi has the day off.
And I'm Liz Gonzalez. Thank you so much for joining us. During this election year, we want to help you become an informed voter. And what better way to do that than by having you meet the candidates?
This morning, we're joined by Serafin Quintanar. He's running for the Republican nomination for the 20th Congressional District. I'm sure I did not get your name right. Tell me again.
Quintanar.
Quintanar.
Right.
Serafin Quintanar.
Oh, the seat is currently held by Democrat Jim Costa, who is running for re-election. Serafin, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
You have a long resume with business.
Correct.
Politics not on it yet.
Right.
Why jump into politics?
I felt I had to. The direction of the country is not where I want to see it going. If the way things are going, I won't be in business very long. And so I have felt, someone had to jump into the race that can help fix the problem. The solution is not something that can happen overnight. We didn't get here overnight. It's going to take a while to fix it. But someone has to get in there who knows business, who knows the Constitution, who believes in freedom and liberty, and is willing to fight for it.
Your father was a farmer, so you understand how important water is to the valley. So what kind of power will this seat have in maybe correcting our problem or fixing the problem for the farmers, especially on the west side?
Yeah. Well, obviously it's an ag district. Jim Costa has always run as a farmer, and he's failed the district though in delivering the water, which is the principal cause of a lot of the recent unemployment in the district. What I can do is I can go up there and I could first of all vote the right way. He's voted the wrong way consistently. I'll vote the right way on the water issue and on other issues. But additionally, besides water, we need to cut taxes. We need to cut government regulation so that we can compete with foreign farmers. There's lots of importing from China, for example, going on right now. And we need to stop that trend and continue the trend, or start a new trend of more domestic products, safer products. We need more water, but we also need to cut taxes and regulations.
I just spoke yesterday with Congressman Costa, and he was mentioning, in terms of having the know-how, because he's been up in Capitol Hill, he works closely with Senator Feinstein on these issues. He consistently has said that it's going to take a while in order to get any water relief. Is there anything you think you could do to bring that relief a lot sooner to the farmers here in the valley? Well,
Representative Costa, he says he's been fighting for water for about 30 years. That's quite a long time, and look at the results. With friends like him and Diane Feinstein, who needs enemies? We need a change in approach, because his approach is not working. I plan to go up there and really fight for this. I'm not going to go up there and do these grandstanding things like saying we're going to turn on the pumps to 25%, and that happens for a couple days and it's turned off. I'm not going to go up there and do these PR stunts with Diane Feinstein saying, we're going to introduce this legislation and kind of try to sneak it into a so-called jobs bill. I'm not going to do that kind of stuff. I'm going to go up there and be very upfront with my fellow representatives and say, look, this is a critical issue not only for the valley, but it's a national security concern, and win hearts and minds of my colleagues, Republican or Democrat. No matter what side of the aisle they're on, I'm sure they care about our fellow man and our fellow Americans. And we just have to make it very clear that this issue is critical. It's not something that can be put off any longer.
You're saying that there are a lot of restrictions that the government has on Americans right now, many of which you call unconstitutional.
Correct. Yeah.
Like what?
You name it, it's probably unconstitutional when it comes to federal legislation. The vast majority of it is. Let's take, for example, the Endangered Species Act, which is the root cause of the problems for the water on the west side. That act is completely unconstitutional on many grounds. However, it's gotten by for decades. I'm not saying I can go to Washington and get it repealed overnight. It's going to take a long time to get that repealed. We can start to amend it to alleviate some of this situation we have going on now. But ultimately, it has to be repealed because it's unconstitutional. And it's acts like that lead to these unintended consequences that people with maybe good intentions don't foresee decades in the past what would happen today.
Speaking of unconstitutional, a lot of folks, voters, a lot of people across America right now are saying this new health care reform is unconstitutional.
You call it a scheme.
What's your stance on that?
Yeah, it's definitely a scheme. It's unconstitutional. Pretty much, all of it is. Right now, there's going to be some challenges from states claiming it's unconstitutional based on the Commerce Clause or the mandate for coverage, and those things are correct. But it's unconstitutional because the federal government, under the Constitution, has absolutely no authority to enter the arena of health care. Now, going to Washington, what I plan to do about that act is I'm one of the people that want to repeal it. I don't want to replace it. Now, repealing is not going to happen overnight because you would need either supermajorities come this next election in both houses to override a presidential veto, or we have to wait to 2012 till we have both houses and the presidency so that we can overturn it. Barring that, I'll fight to defund it, and I'll fight to start the process for repealing it. I do favor competition across state lines and federal tort reform. Those things will bring down costs tremendously and increase access for people to health care.
Kim just mentioned that you refer to this health care reform as a scheme.
Yes.
Like a scheme. Whose scheme? The Obama administration? What are you saying there? It's
not just Obama. It is a scheme by the progressives, as they call themselves nowadays. It's a scheme for government control. This is a Pandora's box, or as I call it sometimes, a Trojan horse. It looks pretty, you let it in, but then out comes the bureaucrats and out comes government control. All paths of healthcare, so-called healthcare reform, lead to government control of healthcare, something that I don't think the vast majority of Americans want. We need to reform healthcare by getting the government out of it, not further into it.
I got to ask you this, though, as a business owner, how tough has this situation been for you?
Well, actually, my business has been flourishing. When I saw the economy going down, I worked even harder and harder, and that's what it takes to make it, and that's the American way. But also, I've benefited from the failures of some of my competitors. As some of the people that couldn't make it, I had to pick up the slack. I didn't have to, but I went out there aggressively to pick up the slack, and so my business is doing well, better than ever.
Tell your business.
It's Evan Taylor Fine Cabinetry, and I'm a cabinet dealer. I'm not a contractor. I just supply cabinets, but that's what it takes in this country, hard work, but you need the government out of your way so that you can reap the benefits and the results of your hard labor.
Do you think that that's what sets you apart from the others that you're facing in this primary? You've got a farmer and a CPA that you're facing off with in the primary. Yesterday we just had Mr. Lake here on the show as well.
Yeah, I'd say they're also businessmen, and you know, I'm going to say that they will probably work as hard as they can as well. What sets me apart, though, I think, is my passion and my willingness and ability to fight and fight hard, but also my conservatism. Right now, it's real cool and popular to call yourself a conservative, at least on the Republican side. Well, even amongst Democrats, there's a lot of conservative Democrats. But that's, you know, a lot of Johnny-come-latelys. And the Republican side, we call a lot of people rhinos, Republican in name only. Well, there's a lot of kinos, conservatives in name only, that just pick up that moniker just to try to compete in this election. I've been a conservative since way back when, as far as I can remember.
Now you moved to the Valley when?
I moved to the Valley about 6 years ago. Okay. I'm originally from the Bay Area, but even there in a heavily liberal area, I was a conservative. And I've always fought for conservative principles. I didn't just try to brush up on conservatism to run in this race.
Let's talk about immigration.
Yes.
Your family, or at least your father, came here. And so you know it firsthand.
Yes.
He came here and became an American citizen. So tell us what you believe about immigration and what does that hold for farm workers?
Right. Well, like you mentioned, my dad, his family was and still is in Mexico large landowners and farmers. My dad came here as a young man in the 50s, became under the legal guest worker program, became a resident and a U.S. citizen. I believe in a strong guest worker program. Right now, because the water shut off, we probably don't have that big of a demand for a guest worker program. But things are going to turn around, and when it does, we're going to need a ready supply of labor that's legal. Not only for the benefit of the people migrating here, because you know it's dangerous crossing that border, and it costs thousands of dollars to get here sometimes. We need to get rid of that hazard and create a legal way for them to be here. But also for the farmers and for other industry, you know, they shouldn't be hiring illegal workers, and I think we need to enforce laws against people who do. But if we have a ready supply of legal workers, they won't have to do that anymore.
Some say it's too hard to become a citizen in this country.
It should be. It should be hard. This country has a lot of benefits to reap for those that are willing to work hard and live by the rules. And it shouldn't just be willy-nilly who comes in, and we need to screen who comes in, and we need to know who's here and when they come and go. It's also a national security issue. Oops, that's my cell phone. That didn't turn off. But we need to control our borders, and existing law will do that if we enforced it. We need to know who's coming across and keep the bad guys out. What's your thought on amnesty? I'm against amnesty 100%. I believe under a legal guest worker program, there will be a path to citizenship like my father's, but it took him a little over 2 decades to become a citizen. And like I said, it should be difficult to become a citizen. It shouldn't be something that happens overnight.
All right, Serafin Quintanar, thank you very much for joining us today. We appreciate your time.
No problem.
Serafin Quintanar for Congress 2010.